Hello and welcome to the Speaking Frankly Football Show. I'm Frank Hughes, the chairman of Skelmersdale United Football Club, and alongside me is my co-host and passionate press officer AJ the Jet. Not that being involved with the football club is a prerequisite for hosting a football podcast, but it certainly helps. We are ready to dive headfirst into the vibrant world of non-league football in the Northwest, and we might even take a moment to discuss some of the bigger headlines in the sport. We'll explore life in the Northwest counties, bring you interviews with well-known faces in the league, and analyse how local teams are performing while making bold predictions for their upcoming matches. Nothing is off the limits here. We'll be diving into all kinds of topics, including complicated refereeing decisions and regulations that often leave fans perplexed. We want to hear from you too. This is your show, so don't hesitate to reach out with topics you want us to tackle. Let's get this conversation started and enjoy every single moment. We are speaking frankly. Hello and welcome to this bonus episode of the Speaking Frankly Football Show. No AJ, unfortunately, due to family commitments, but hopefully he'll be back on the show next week. Listen, a warm welcome to Dave Jones, manager of the title-winning Atherton LR. First of all, how does that sound and how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. It sounds good. Obviously, been a few weeks now, but still sinking in, and it's been an enjoyable few weeks. And it's just sinking in, and it's been really good.
Yeah. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty about the season, I just wanted to go back to the journey last season when you came close. You can't really argue about the eventual winners, really, because FC St Helens had a remarkable season, but losing out in a playoff semi-final against the eventual winners, South Liverpool, was a difficult pill to swallow, I would imagine. Yeah,
it was difficult. Obviously, we had a really good season from the expectations at the start of the year. I think it was the first time the club had finished in the top half in 12 years, so to finish second was absolutely brilliant. But we'd sort of been second all the way through from August to the end of the season. And South Liverpool sort of snuck in on the last day and had that momentum with the last minute winner getting into the playoffs, and came down to a playoff semi-final on the day, and they scored right towards the end with a penalty. And yeah, it was difficult to take because obviously we were the second best team in the league, quite steady all season. But when it comes to the playoffs, anything can happen, can't it?
Does the disappointment of losing out in the playoffs have a positive or negative psychological effect on you moving on into the next season?
I think it was probably difficult because we probably felt like we overachieved last year. We felt like we overachieved, so then the instant worry was probably, can you back that up again? Mm-hmm. Obviously, as well as losing players and stuff like that. And then even as the season was going on this year, although finishing in the playoffs again this year had been a fantastic achievement for the club, to do it back-to-back years, you're worried about the playoffs because you just know how it felt last year and that anything can happen once you end up in them playoffs. So that was always in the back of your mind all year, and I'd be lying if I said it wasn't really.
So before the season starts, you're doing what business you need to do ahead of the 24-25 season. From a recruitment perspective, was it a busy, close season?
No, we kept the majority of the squad, so we kept pretty much everyone apart from Lewis Rawson signed a contract at Radcliffe and he got 32 goals last year, and Cal Hunter signed a contract at Ashton Town and he got 27 goals last year. So we lost the best part of 60 goals there, and we knew it wasn't going to be possible to replace 60 goals. That's everyone wants 30 goal a season striker, but they're very difficult to find, and we just happened to have two. So we went out, obviously try and find forwards, but change the way we played a bit, try and find midfielders that can, help and score goals and create and play a little bit differently than what we did last year, and improve defensively as well. So we felt like if we tweaked a few departments, that would sort of, help bridge the gap of them goals, which the lads that come in, only a handful of them have been absolutely fantastic all year. Tom Romano, Harvey Sample, who joined us halfway through, Joe Bacon from Ashton Athletic under-21s, he's been outstanding in his first year in senior football. So, them players played a part, as well as all the original players being a year older as well, because it's a very young group.
Have you worked out what the average age of your team is?
It's around the 23 mark, so I know there's
really young,
there's only two lads above 23. So, it is really, really young, but obviously another year older for them, experience, another 50 games under the belt goes a long way as well. So that played a big part in it. Yeah.
So does the pre-season schedule give you confidence going into the season, or does it ask more questions than answers?
It sort of give us confidence because we had some really good results. Beat Glossop on a Tuesday night at home and played really well. Played Bury at home as well and done well in that. But then the last pre-season friendly before the start of the season, we played Bearscough away. We lost 6-0. So all the question marks are then naturally going around your head. I remember sitting in the changing room on my own after the game and thinking, is it going to be a long season? Is it going to be difficult to replicate what we done last year as well? But thankfully that just ended up being a one-off result, but that definitely did get the question marks going in the head, yeah.
But a sense of perspective as well, because the sort of experienced Bearscough team in a higher level.
Yeah, and they were brilliant on the day. They were head and shoulders better than us, but probably helped in a way as well because we'd had quite a strong pre-season. It's probably sent everyone back down to earth as well the week before the start of the season, and just
which isn't a bad thing, really.
No, definitely not, and it just sort of levelled everyone out, and made people realise that it's going to be difficult and you don't have everything your own way as well. So we bounced back from that, had a really strong August. We lost one game in the whole of August, and that was the same as what we only lost one game in the whole of August last year as well. And as you know, with the amount of games you start off with in the Northwest Counties in August, I think getting a positive start does really give you a good.
We'll come to that bit in a bit. But what benchmarks have you set yourself at this point? You've gone into the pre-season, you've come out of it relatively well, apart from the Bearscough defeat. What teams are you keeping a close eye on? Have you set the bar to win the league or the playoffs again? I know you said before you don't want to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know how much it hurts.
Yeah, no, we didn't. Obviously, didn't want to be in the playoffs, but we knew that if we're setting realistic targets, getting in the playoffs again would be another good achievement. So we sort of set the 60-point marks. We know 60 points gets you around the playoffs. So we sort of set that. Obviously, we knew there was going to be some strong sides in it this year. Obviously, big changes at Nelson over the summer led to them being really competitive. Droylsden as well, big club, as well as Holker and Exton being consistently good as well. So we were well aware of how difficult a challenge it was going to be with the teams, but sort of backed ourselves to carry on. And like I say, as much as we didn't want to end up in the playoffs, the actual objective was to sort of be in and around the playoffs.
But you're quietly confident from what you've seen so far, like you said before. So listen, you've kicked off the season with a narrow win against my team, Skem. My early thoughts is that you've set your team out extremely hard to beat, but you're not going to score heavily. Would you say that overall that was a fair assessment at that point?
Yeah, I think so. Like I say, I think losing them goals last year, it did play a part, probably psychologically as well. And that game against Skem, it was difficult. Despite defending really well, we didn't really create masses on the day, and that sort of continued through August. But the strong defensive record, which stands out this year as well, has sort of got us over the line and led us really well.
I mean, from a personal perspective, we played you and we thought it was a fairly good benchmark for ourselves, but it proves absolutely nothing in the end because we come out the season with 8 points and bottom of the table. Now listen, I'm going to go through the seasons in sections if you like. So looking at the first 5 games, you've won 3, you've drew 1 against Droylsden, and then you've lost to Exton Villa. I assume you're more than likely expecting those teams to be up there with you at the end of the season anyway, which has proven to be the case. But if you're a teacher giving an early progress report, what's your assessment so far?
Yeah, we were pleased to get the points on the board. I think the games we won, we sort of would the sides we won against would sort of, we thought would be mid-table, around that point. But like I said, the Droylsden and Exton, obviously we knew it'd sort of be in and around them playoffs again. It was a good point at Droylsden because they were really good, but again defensively sound on the night. Led to a 0-0. The Exton game, probably a bit disappointed in ourselves, but they're a good side and they nicked it on the day. And like you say, at the end they were sort of up there. But then the question mark coming out of that period is, we've got to then start picking points up against them teams. Otherwise, you know, it quickly starts to get away from you the other way as well.
But who did you think he was going to be your competition at that point?
I think obviously Nelson has had a really good start, so we haven't played them, but you know they'd had a really good start.
But the expectation that they finished plumb bottom the season before they got a reprieve. When I was looking at the fixture schedule, I wasn't looking at Nelson as being anywhere near contenders, but then you hear rumours that they've got a money man in and there's a few bob getting thrown in there. At what stage of the season do you realise that Nelson have got a few bob?
I think there was an evening that they were announcing signings on Twitter, and it was sort of like...
Was this in the August period?
Yeah. Or it might have even been just before, and it was like Billy Priestley, Thompson, Tsffs Gonzalez, who have all played for Clitheroe in the Northern Premier League recently, and are outstanding players, you know, nowhere near past it, you know, really, really good players, physically and technically as well. So from that point, we knew it wasn't going to be the same Nelson of, you know, previous years. Obviously, Droylsden done well last year in the South Division, so we knew they'd be good, and obviously their home ground's brilliant and their home attendances are brilliant. It's a real fortress to go to. So they were sort of the two that we had our eyes on as well. You know, and looking at and thinking it'd be tight at the top with them. Yeah,
well listen, we'll come to the shocks, but your next 8 games start with a close 5-4 victory over AFC Blackpool. The game after you snatched a 95th minute winner over Darwin. You left it late as the 94th minute to overcome Steeton. Then a draw against Ashton Townside. At this point, do you think the team is resilient, or are you attempting to make changes, bring additional players in, or you changing anything in training? Are you worried?
I think, take the Blackpool result out of it, obviously we scored 5 goals. The worry was, it goes back to what you said at the start, we just weren't scoring enough goals. So ultimately, we weren't scoring enough goals. So if a team scored 2, we probably weren't going to get anything from out the game. So we were always looking to sort of bring someone in terms of up front, but it's really, really difficult to, you know, find that person, especially part way into the season as well. So that's something that we kept working on. But what pleased me through that period was the late goals, I think, speaks volumes to the character of the group, and they're prepared to go right to the end, which obviously over the course of a season is a really, you know, valuable trait.
So listen, you started your journey in the FA Vars with a 3-1 win over Cheadle Town, and the next couple of league results appear to settle the nerves. Were there any at that point?
No, I think just during that August-September period, it's just about putting as many points on the board as possible, because I think with the way the counties is scheduled, by the time you get to the end of September, you're almost, you know, probably 40% of the way through the games, and if you've got a decent points tally there, you know that you're going to be sort of competing, not necessarily for the league, but you know you're going to be competing in the top, you know, sort of 6, 7, 8 of the league. So that was sort of that for us, and it was just a case of trying to carry on that, you know, for as long as we could, and not reading too much into other teams' results around us.
The trouble with being the successful side is that you're winning cup games as well as league games, but then you lose narrowly to Ashton Town in the Macran Cup, which I would imagine you don't lose any sleep over that.
No, I think obviously disappointed in the, you know, on the day. Obviously we have a good rivalry with Ashton Town as well. There's always tight games between us, and we were disappointed on the day. I think we scored quite late on, but probably looking back with us progressing in the Vars and other cup competitions going forward, we knew if we really wanted to have a strong league season that it might not be, you know, the worst thing in the world. Obviously we went out to win the game, of course we did, but you know, looking back, we probably knew it wasn't going to be the worst thing in the world going out of that competition. And then also shortly after, I think, was the Lancashire Trophy competition as well.
Yeah, we'll come to that. So listen, you've got to the next round of the FA Vars against Cone. Are you seeking continuity at that stage, or are you trying to win everything, or are you making any concessions whatsoever?
I think the Vars is good for the football club in terms of, you know, involving the community and engaging the community, as well as you know, revenue for the club as well. So we take that really, really serious.
Have you got to the stage? Have you got to the stage at this point where the draw's not being made, or is it already? Because they normally sort of draw the first 2 or 3 rounds, don't they?
Yeah. So after the we had a bye in the very first qualifying round, and then it was Cheadle. Then after that, it was sort of every every Monday then the draw. So you win it and then you're looking forward to Monday lunchtime to see
there's nothing finer, is there?
You know who you get, and as each game goes on, you do start to believe and dream a little bit, which is of course allowed because it's football and that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's a wonderful competition. And listen, we'll talk about the FA Cup because you'll be in the FA Cup next season. But listen, 2 good wins following the Cone win in the first round of the Vars, and then in the second round you've battered Abbey Hay to progress to the third round and have a tasty fixture with Ashton Town. You must have been delighted at that stage.
Yeah, I think the Abbey Hay one was really good because, you know, we went there and they were a good, you know, solid Premier Division side and we were brilliant on the day and, you know, well-worthy winners. And I think coming out of them games into you speak about after them games where we win a few league games after, before going back into the Vars, it was breathing good confidence through the squad because it was giving good belief. It wasn't just, you know, one Premier Division side. We beat 3 Premier Division sides there. So it's, you know, giving the squad belief that they're a really good side and, you know, need to keep believing in themselves.
Yeah. Listen, I noticed that shortly before the Ashton Town, I think Tommy and I went to the home game against Ashton Town. Was that in the league?
That was in the league, Tuesday night,
in the league,
yeah.
And that was a 1-1 draw. I actually thought you looked quite jaded during that game. Is that fair to say, or?
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously at that point we'd sort of had a few midweeks in a row as well and it started to take its toll. Obviously we don't make many changes, we don't have a massive squad either, so, you know, the same players sort of continue to play and probably does catch up a little bit with you, and, you know, probably showed that night with us conceding so late on, you know, in the game and Ashton Town having the edge in the second half. I thought they did anyway.
But you soon bounced back with a 4-0 away win at Garstang. At this stage, are you feeling that the Vars could jeopardise your aim, which is to get promoted, or are you still confident?
I think we knew fixture-wise we'd be all right as long as the weather stayed all right.
Yeah.
So there were sort of gaps in the fixture schedule where we knew we'd keep getting the rearranged games in on a Saturday unless the weather turned, which was obviously, you know, that's out your hands and you don't know whether it's going to go. But as we'd sort of went that far in the Vars, then it's just, you know, keep going in terms of revenue for the club. And it was sort of the attendances on a Vars match day were really, really strong, which then we're starting to reflect in a league match day as well, and, you know, plays a part in growing the club. So we have to take that into account as well. But we're probably just enjoying it and, you know, just enjoy winning games and enjoy progressing in the Vars.
So obviously the further on in the competition you go, the more ambitious you're going to become, and your mind must be predominantly on the FA Vars. Is it difficult to keep focused on the league at this stage?
Yeah, I think it is, because everyone starts to really believe, you know, the further you go into that, everyone starts to believe, and, you know, I understand that, but then there also has to be a reality to it. The chances of winning it are extremely, extremely slim, but as you progress, it starts to become more real. But we sort of had a thing that I put in place was, once it hit Sunday night of the Vars, that was it was done. Doesn't get spoken about. Players, staff, social media, it's done, it's parked, because we knew how important the league campaign was as well. So I didn't want the social media advertising Vars games, talking about Vars games. I just wanted us to flip the focus again and get straight back onto league football. And that was sort of the, you know, the mindset that I tried to push through, not just the team and, you know, the playing staff, but the whole club as well as a whole.
I suppose you've got to try your best to switch off, but it's difficult because those games are coming thick and fast. Albeit you've had a couple of postponements and 2 defeats, one in the Lancashire Trophy and then at home to Darwin in the league. As usual, you picked yourselves up, you've dusted yourselves down, you've returned to winning ways against Route 1 Rovers in the Edward Chase Cup, which sets you up nicely for the third round of the FA Vars against Ashton Town. You win that one 7-6 on penalties. Confidence must be at an all-time high, which reflects the next 2 results, beating Ashton Athletic and Main Road. But then you come to the 4th round of the FA Vars against Hallam, and you've had to wait as late as the 93rd minute before Ryan Talbot scores his 2nd penalty of the game to secure victory, and then you're off to play Bourne Town in the 5th round. Unfortunately, you lost that on penalties. I believed you could go all the way. How are the team feeling at this stage? Is it a case of we've done ourselves proud, now let's just get on with winning the league?
Yeah, I think obviously in the manner we went out, sort of first half, they were 2-0 up, and they were well better than us. It was men against boys. They were hands down well better than us, and we actually made a sub on the 25th minute to change shape, and that sort of clicked something. We got 2 goals in the second half to get it back to 2-2. Then it goes to penalties, and they sort of missed 2 penalties for us to have the chance of, you know, going ahead in the shootout, and then we missed the following ones as well. So that was, you know, tough to take. And then you look round now at the end, Frank, and it was like the ground and all the kids packed behind the goal and everything, and you'd probably just have to take it all in and go like, look how far this has actually come in 2 years. And yeah, we've crashed out and obviously disappointed in the day, but extremely proud to take, you know, a first division side to the last 16 and see, you know, over 400 people packed into a ground that was getting 50 people, you know, just over 2 seasons ago.
Were doing really, really well at that stage, weren't they? I don't know where they are in their own league now, but they were riding high at the time.
Yeah, so they were sort of top or second in their league, maybe with like 4 games in hand, which then goes to show on what you said again, by progressing in the Vals, sometimes it can sort of knock you. So I don't even know how they ended up finishing in the league, to be honest. I'm not really kept track.
So following on from that defeat, you've had your first serious blip, but at the wrong time. You've managed 2 wins in 4. You've got Nelson breathing down your neck, and then they managed to leapfrog you. It's been in your hands for so long, but the pressure now is firmly on Nelson's shoulders. Is that sort of, did that relieve the pressure a little bit, or did it, you know, did your shoulders slump?
I think obviously when they sort of went top, then it become, well, we're second, but we've got 3 games in hand. And that was sort of the noise from everyone else. But as you know, it's you can have as many games in your hand as you want, but if you don't put the points on the board, then it quickly becomes, you know, difficult, as you know, as we found out in the running. But yeah, it probably did take a little bit off us in terms of, you know, Nelson going there, and, you know, psychologically not trying to not get too involved with the league table, as you know, as difficult as that can be at times.
Let's come from that point where you've had the games in hand to the point where Nelson have actually got the upper hand, and it's up to them to win it or lose it. And then after an 8-match unbeaten streak, 8 consecutive wins, they went and lost at Darwin.
Yeah, it changes very quickly. I think we knew that when we played them at home and we lost, everyone sort of felt like, not us, but everyone externally sort of felt like, you know, it's Nelson's now. But I know how quick it can change, because how quick it changed on us, you know, probably everyone looked in February time, January time, thinking, you know, LR, great position, but it all changes very quickly. And I think it was, you know, the day we played yourselves at home and Nelson went to Darwin, you know, it flips the other way then, and then we have to go to Nelson the week after, which, you know, was obviously a really big game at a big time.
So you've won your game in hand against Droylsden, and then the Saturday before last, you've managed to clinch the title with a 6-0 win over Bake-Up. And, you know, after what I've said about the way you set up the season, that you were always going to be tough to penetrate, but you weren't going to score many goals, obviously proved that you were a little bit more free-flowing on that day. What, did it just all go well on that day? Because you knew there was a possibility that you could clinch the title. Getting over that line can be hard. I
think like the Nelson Droylsden game were really, you know, hard fought, but the group was really, really focused on, you know, going on and delivering. You know, when we beat Nelson, I sort of had the thing of like, lads always play a song when they win. Anyone, you know, whenever that's like no song, like nothing, we have to go again Tuesday, and then we did. Then we done that, and then it comes to Bake-Up. And everyone then is sort of like, oh, you beat Nelson and Droylsden, you know, it's yours. I'm still like panicking, because, like you say, anything can happen. You often see it, you know, on the telly, them although it wasn't the last day, them last few games can be really nervy. And, you know, the longer it goes on at 0-0, it can become a really difficult afternoon. But, you know, thankfully we got 2 early goals, and then just opens up, and we were absolutely phenomenal. Lads didn't look phased at all, and it was probably our best performance of the season.
Did you see any tension amongst the players at all? No?
No, none at all, which was annoying me before the game, because I'm thinking, like, are you not focused? Like, you know, that's how it felt. But they were focused. They just don't really, you know, get too phased. And probably playing in, you know, them big Vars games throughout the year, and the Droylsden and Nelson game the week before, it probably breeds bit of experience, you know, them big games, them big occasions, and like I said, they just weren't phased, and they were absolutely, you know, phenomenal all afternoon. The best performance of the season by far.
Big celebration after the game.
Yeah, it was, but it's funny because you sort of knew from like the 50th minute that you'd won it. So
you like that? Even if I get 5-0 up, I'm thinking to myself, something's going to go wrong. Not that we've ever been anywhere near 5-0 up during the season, but I always feel as though even at that point something's going to go drastically wrong.
Yeah, so it was when Tom Romano scored his second. It was like 4-0 on the 50th minute, and then that was sort of, you know, could breathe a little bit then. Which, you sort of, it started to...
Because they're a really good team, Baker, aren't they? And I'm surprised.
Yeah, good side. They are a good side, and probably the only thing that put the damper on the afternoon for us was Marcus Perry done his ACL with 5 minutes to go, so that was a really, you know, blow for us and a blow for him as well.
How long's he out for, do you?
He went private for a scan. He had his results back last night, and it doesn't look too good.
Oh dear.
He's got a baby on the way as well, and he's got a few kids. So,
and what's his day job?
Crane operator.
Is he going to carry out? Is he going to be able to carry on working?
I'm sure. I think he was going back to site today to meet them and see. But you know, as a club and as a group of lads, we'll do whatever we can to try and support him. Because it's just a shame for him. It probably even said it was probably going to be his last year playing anyway. And to do that with 5 minutes to go was, was
a lot of people don't see that side of football, do they? From a non-league perspective, if you get injured in non-league football, there's no great insurance payoffs or anything like that. If you've become injured and you've got to go back to your day job.
Yeah, and with his missus being due in a few weeks as well, it just adds that pressure on.
Yeah, financial burden's heavy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So listen, you always set your standards high. I would have assumed that you wouldn't be too happy with the 2-1 defeat at Blackpool. They all been on a big dipper before the game or something?
I don't know what they've done before the game, but we were poor, we were rubbish. We gave them the week off training because we felt that was the right thing to do. They've been brilliant. We didn't change the side massively, and we were just really poor. They were good on the day, but I'm a winner. I was disappointed. Because I think we just got to do better on the day. But then when you go back to the club in the evening, you see it bouncing with the live band on and stuff like that. You realise the result that day, didn't mean.
Just remind me, how old are you?
25.
Still 25. Yeah. I thought you'd at least sort of gone up to the 26 there. But listen, I think many people believed in your ability. But you've got to get over the line first of all. It's nothing more than unfounded ability until you've done that. So actually getting over the line, what did it feel like for you personally?
Relief was the first feeling, and everyone probably thinks it's joy and happiness. It was relief because you can feel it building, throughout the year. But to get over the line, it just was relief. Because the pressure does build, and it builds on all the people around you as well, throughout the year, who have to, put up with me on a Saturday evening and through the week. You struggling with your hay fever? No, just at the back of my throat there.
Oh, right. Awful. Let's take a break, have a swig. But yeah, listen, you've got over that line, and the feeling has got to be absolutely awesome. But then there's a big team of people around you. That you probably want to thank, the chairman, the groundsman, the secretary, you name it. There's a lot of people to be thanked, I would imagine.
Yeah, outstanding support network at the club. From Sean, the chairman, Chris, the vice chairman, Paul, as the secretary. You could go on and name them all, but the girls in the food cabin and everything. They've been really good, and they give the players the platform to go and perform on a Saturday, and it's for them as much as it is for the players.
In terms of being competitive, though, you're going to move up a division. These players are going to probably want more money. There's all of those things to consider. Have the early indications that you're going to retain most of the team?
Yeah, I think we will be. Obviously we'll have chats with them over the summer. Obviously got a few games coming up this weekend, but we'll have a chat with them over the summer and see where it goes from there. But money might have to come into it and might come into it, but I think sometimes it's more than money, and the club and the environment and stuff like that. It plays a big part.
Although I think the gates have improved, I don't know what the average was last season, but it certainly improved this season. I did feel at stages when I was looking at the results as they were coming in and looking at the home games, weren't particularly getting gates that you really, in terms of respect, should have been getting. So in terms of that, making sure that the gates increase. Who's working behind the scenes to improve the appeal of the football club?
I think Sean does a lot in the community. He puts free season tickets out and stuff like that. And then Caden, the social media as well. He does a lot of work with that, and I think the attendances are up on average 60% on what they were 2 years ago, which is a big jump.
Yeah.
But we just got to keep that going now.
Yeah. So I've noticed Sean is very, very hands-on, isn't he, as a chairman? Listen, I've spoken to him, had him on the show before, but I've never actually met him properly or been introduced to him. So when I was introduced to him when we played at Atherton LR, I noticed he was here, there and everywhere.
Yeah, he does everything. His wife does the bar as well with him.
It's a big family concern, is it?
Yeah, and they all work together. He definitely does a lot and plays a big part in it.
Yeah. And you've got 2 huge cup finals coming up?
Yeah, Champions Cup on Saturday, so the winner of the North and the South, and then the League Cup final on Monday. So difficult to have them, so close together. I don't think they should be that close together, but just have to deal with what you give them, really.
Yeah. The Winsford one, the divisional final, like you mentioned before, difficult game. They've had a fabulous season as well, haven't they?
Yeah, brilliant season, I think.
Have you seen them play as well?
No, I'm going to watch a few videos on them later. Excuse me. Watch a few videos on them later, but I think they're undefeated in a fair few now at home, and it'll be a really difficult game for us on Saturday.
Yeah. So listen, I guess the work behind the scenes will go on during the close season. What's the relationship like between you and chairman? Because I always say, the relationship between manager and chairman is the most important thing in the club. I've no doubt you've probably already discussed budgets. I assume Sean will have his sensible head on. Not so much you, but Sean will.
Yeah.
Have you got to that point?
We've got a meeting next Wednesday.
Right.
So we've got a meeting next Wednesday. So we'll go from there. But we work together really well. We're always on the same page. Talk a lot, but he just lets me crack on with the football stuff, and he's really, really supportive. So yeah, we'll be fine on that front.
Yeah. Are you looking to sort of float next season mid-table, or are you quietly confident you can do a bit more than that?
I think the first thing is just make sure you remain in the division, but I don't see why there's any reason why we can't be, pushing halfway up.
Yeah. And as manager, I'm assuming this will be your first time that you've entered into the FA Cup.
Yeah, so really looking forward to that. Again, it's another chance to get the club's name on the map. So yeah, really excited for that one.
And that'll come round about? Is it July? Is it or
End
June?
July, start of August. Yeah.
I'd like to go slightly off course and talk about the predictions for this weekend. As there is no AJ, just wondered whether you'd help me. Talking about promotional spots, who do you think is going to win the Premier Division? Who do you think is going to win the playoffs? And the same in the Division 1 North and the Division 1 South. So it's a case of who do you think is going to win and who would you like to win?
So I hope Benny win it this weekend. I'm sure he will. He's got a lot of time for David now, but he's done a lot for me as well. So
yeah,
I genuinely hope they go on and win it this weekend. In terms of the playoffs, I think it's just hard to see past Lower Breck with the form they're on and playing at home.
Yeah, it's an amazing form, isn't it? But I mean, they could actually snatch it on the last day. I mean, that's what makes it incredible, because I think there's a swing of 5 goals, I think, in terms of the goal difference. They managed to bump their goal difference up with a huge win last weekend. Was it 6-0? Was it over? Can't remember who they beat now. But so yeah, from their perspective, if Bearscough, who are on a fabulous run as well now, I think they've won 9 out of 10 games or something like that. Something silly. They've gone on a remarkable run. So should Lower Breck win handsomely then there's every possibility that Bearsko could pull off the shock of all shocks. Do you see that happening?
I can't say it happening myself, but like you say, you never know. Bearsko are on great football, and Breck are scoring a lot of goals at the minute, aren't they? So
yeah.
Who knows?
I know you've said that's who you think will win. Who would you like to win the playoffs?
Good question. I think I'd like West Didsbury to do it just because
Got a huge fan base.
Fan base has grown so much over the last the last few years.
Yeah. So looking to the Division 1 North, obviously Nelson, Droylsden, Holker and Exton, they're in the playoff positions. Who would you like to see win? Or who do you think will win the playoffs?
I've got a feeling Holker are going to win the playoffs.
Right.
I've got a feeling Holker are going to win the playoffs.
It's funny you should say that, because earlier on in the season, well, obviously we played everyone, but I actually thought Holker Old Boys were a good outfit. They've just lacked consistency. They can score goals. They're very, very physical, strong, and so I wouldn't disagree with you there.
Yeah.
So that's who you'd like to see, but who do you think you've put your smart hat on, your money on?
No, I think it'll be Holker. I'd like to see Exton.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I think it'll be Holker, but I like
not Nelson? You think the head of teams being sort of...
To be honest, Nelson, obviously the captain got a suspension, so I don't think he can play in the playoffs. And Charlie Frost, the top scorer in the league, he's been struggling with his quad the last few weeks, so I think a lot of it will depend on... They've sort of lost two massive players at a really big... a big moment.
Bit of inside info there. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, no, that's been going on the last few weeks.
But I knew there was a ban, but I thought it had been up by the end of the.
I think it was a bit longer.
Would he be available for the final?
I'm not too sure.
No. So okay, you want
Exton.
You want Exton. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And in terms of you played them both, who do you think's got the ability out of the two?
I go with you. I think Holker are, technically really good.
And physically strong.
Physically really strong lads.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I won't disagree with you there. So looking at the playoff positions, I mean, my inside info is that Abbey Holton United all the way for the playoffs. Everybody else is out of contention, but obviously there isn't, because there's Stafford Town, Sandbach and Eccleshall. Who do you see winning the playoffs?
I think it'll be Sandbach, just because they fell short, the last few years, and I think they'll just use that experience to push through.
But who would you like to see win that?
I'll go Sandbach again.
Right.
Just because I know a few lads who are at them, so I think if they heard me say otherwise, they wouldn't be too happy. So I think it'll be Sandbach, and I would like it to be Sandbach, but would they move up to the counties Prem, or would it be the Midlands? That's the question mark, isn't it?
Definitely. So listen, looking at the fixtures, Friday 18th of April, Cheriton versus Litherland Remaker. Which way do you see that one going?
I think it'll be a home win, Cheriton.
Home win for Cheriton, so I'll go for Cheriton as well. So I'll have to put your initial there as well. F and A. So Bury versus Bearsko.
Go home win.
Home win.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel as though, listen, I've got to be careful what I say here, but I've supported Bury right throughout the season, so I'm not going to change my mind now just because they're playing Bearsko. So I want Bury to win. I want them desperately to win the title. I think they've gone through the 7,000 mark, haven't they, for tickets sold for the for this game. That's an absolute incredible, silly amount of
incredible, and also great for Bearsko, isn't it, to get the opportunity to go and play in front of that as well this weekend. And like you say, Dave Dempsey and his lads are in great form as well, and they won't be there just for the occasion. They'll be there to try and spoil the party, I'm sure of that, but go a home win. Yeah.
We'll have to, because we'll have 8,000 people going bananas if we went any different. Charlotte Richard, Squires Gate.
Home win.
Home win, yeah. Listen, we're both copying each other so far. Cheadletown versus Lower Brack.
Away win for me.
Yeah, well, I think they're definitely going to win that, and I think they'll win that quite handsomely. And then, like I say, the issue then is if Bearscough can, and Bearscough have to win, by the way, don't they, Berry? A point will do, Berry. So Cone versus Abbey Hay. Bit sad for Cone, really, because they looked as though they could sneak out of that final relegation spot, but they've struggled a bit.
Yeah. It's been a great battle, hasn't it, between Cone and Prestwich in the last few weeks. I'll go away win on that one.
All right. You surprised me there. I'll go for Cone. Glossop North End versus Pilkington. Friend of mine, Richard Brodie. He's having a bit of a difficult sort of back end of the season, isn't he?
Yeah. Can I go draw? Are we allowed draws?
Yeah, you're allowed to draw.
I'll go draw on that one.
Yeah.
Pilkington had a good win as well last weekend.
Yeah, I'll go for it. No. Listen, I'm going for Glossop. You're going for a draw. Okay, fair enough. FC St Helens again had a magnificent season. Really, if you consider all told, they came up as champions, nothing guaranteed. They've acclimatised well in the Premier Division.
Yeah, they have. They've done really well. Wouldn't mind being a point behind them next year if that's anything to go by. They've done. Yeah, he's done outstanding, Mike Smith.
I think those teams that have come up from the First Division. North and South have done fairly well, haven't they? Apart from, you could arguably say South Liverpool have or they haven't, but they've managed to keep themselves up. So are you going for there? FC St Helens?
I'll go FC St Helens just because Earlham had that great Manchester Cup win the other night and might just be a bit, party mood.
Yeah, I'll go along with that. Longridge versus Prestwich. I think Prestwich will win that. And obviously condemn Cone alongside Squires Gate to Division 1 North or wherever they're split.
I'll go Longridge on that.
You going Longridge?
Yeah, I just think Prestwich will feel they're pretty. No, they're pretty. I think they'll pretty be safe. Won't they? 13 swing goal difference. And I'll go Longridge on that one.
Ramsbottom versus Barnsley. It looked like Ramsbottom. Certainly going nose to nose, neck to neck, toe to toe with Bury for a long period of the season, and then yet again I think they were another one that were involved in long cup runs. Where do you see that one going, Ramsbottom?
I'll go home win for that one.
Yeah, I'll go along with that as well. South Liverpool versus AFC Liverpool. I can't quite work AFC Liverpool out. I think they've done exceptionally well in the Premier Division. Now there's absolutely no doubt about that. They can hold their own, and on a relatively small budget, they seem to do it season in, season out. They're doing well in the Premier Division. They're not setting it alight, but they're not making a show of themselves either.
No, I'll go for the draw for that one. Local derby, end of the season. Yeah,
a draw for you, and I'll go for an AFC Liverpool for me. Stockport Town versus Pedding.
Away win for that one.
Yeah, they've been a good team, haven't they, all season?
Yeah.
Yeah, FC Isle of Man versus West Stidbury and Chiltern.
Tough one. I'll go away win. Yeah, I think they'll do it over there.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, I can't quite understand what's happened to the FC Isle of Man, because they started the season off really, really well. They tend to do that every season. They start off really well, and then
you wonder if the travel catches up with it, after.
I think the travel's definitely catching up with them. I think the problem with the travel is not so much the travelling; it's the amount of players working midweek, and when they're having to travel to midweek games, and I think it must take its toll on them. But listen. Come to the First Division Champions Cup final. Winsford versus Atherton LR here.
Well, I've got to say away win, haven't I? I think it'd be really difficult, but obviously...
Is it decided by penalties? Is it straight 90 minutes followed by penalties, do we know?
Straight to penalties, yeah. It'll be straight to penalties.
It's going to be a difficult game. It'll give you a good idea of what Winsford were all about.
Yeah, it'll be tough, but we're looking forward to it, and it's just about
we've got to go for that.
We'll go away with that one, yeah.
So the first division North playoff semi-finals: Droylsden versus Holker. I think you've already said it. Holker are going to win that one.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure about that. I'm going to go for Droylsden because it's home. But I wouldn't be surprised if Holker did it. Nelson versus Exton Villa. Don't particularly get a big crowd, Nelson, do they? But I don't know whether this will be any bigger.
I'll go. I think I want Exton, but I think Nelson will win.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Nelson because I think they will, which will set up a final. If you're correct, it'll be Holker versus Nelson in the final. So the semi-finals of the Division 1 South. Right, who are they? Abbey Holton versus Eccleshall. I'm going for Abbey Holton on the first one.
I'll join you on that one.
Yeah. Stafford Town versus Sandbach. You're going for Sandbach?
Sandbach, yeah.
Well, I'm going for Sandbach purely based on the fact that Stafford, just at the bottom, seems to have collapsed out of them altogether.
Yeah, it's a funny one because they're doing really well, and I think the last 6 games or so they struggled a little bit. They played Sandbach last week as well, didn't they?
Yeah. What was the result of that?
1-1.
1-1. All right. It could be a close one, but I'm going for Sandbach there now. Atherton LR versus Stafford Town. This is going to be a lot easier, I think, than the final on Saturday. But definitely see you beating Stafford in the final of the Edward Chase Cup final. You're not going to go any different there, I wouldn't have thought.
I can't go any different, can I?
Do you know much about Stafford at all? Or?
Yeah, I went down to watch them last week.
All right.
Yeah.
How difficult is it to get to games to do a little bit of scouting?
I think it's harder in the Prem because there's more games. I think the First Division's a bit more, lenient through the weeks. We got down last Tuesday.
You managed to do a lot of scouting this season, yeah?
Yeah, we have 2 people who go out doing it for me as well on the Saturdays.
Do you feel more confident when you're scouting yourself, or do you sort of trust the people that are giving you the information?
I did it first, but I think you build the trust, and when you start to see what's come through, through the computer the week before, you start to build that trust and belief in what's getting fed back to you. So now it doesn't really make a difference. At the start it was me, but now it doesn't really make a difference. So we got down to watch Stafford last week, and they're a good side, but they play on Astro, and sometimes I feel it can be a little bit different when you go on to the the grass pitches from the Astro.
So looking at there's a couple more cup finals, obviously. Well, one more. Golcar United versus Route 1 Rovers. Don't know a lot about Golcar, but looking at Route 1 Rovers, strange one really. We played them a couple of times this season, and they've I think they battered us, and certainly battered us on the last occasion. And I'm surprised that they ended up in the bottom 3. I don't know whether you watch Route 1 Rovers play at all, but they're very much like a 5-a-side team. They just play it out of the game. Yeah. They just and they're quite fast.
Yeah, I think they when they're on it, they're brilliant. I think they're been quite hit and miss all year, but I'll go Route 1 win on that one.
Yeah, I'll definitely go for Route 1. And like we say, then listen, we get into the nitty gritties of the finals that we can't predict yet. But we're looking at the Macron Cup final, Charnock Richard versus Stafford. How far did you get in the Macron Cup?
First round, Ashton Town.
Oh, right.
Yeah. That's ourselves, yeah.
Charnock Richard versus Stafford. Which way do you see that one going?
I'll go Charnock, win with that one.
Yeah, I'll join you with that. And the only other cup final that we've got there is Wednesday the 7th of May, Allscott Heath versus Whitchurch Allport in the TJ Vickers Premier Cup final. Played at Telford as well.
Whitchurch, they had a good Vars run as well this year. I think they've done well, and I like it there. I like what they've done with the grounds from what it was 10 years ago when I played there. I'll go for a Whitchurch win with that. Yeah,
well that rounds up the predictions, our expert analysis, call it. But yeah, listen. So how are you looking? How are you feeling now? Looking forward to the season ahead.
Yeah, looking forward to it, I think.
What do you do when you get these two cup finals out of the way first? If you win these two cup finals, then it's a treble.
Yeah.
So that in itself would be a great feat.
Yeah, obviously that would be fantastic, and that's the challenge. Obviously it'll be difficult, but get these two out of the way, meeting with the club next week, and then just enjoy a few weeks off. I think because it's been relentless.
I don't think people understand that. Well, I don't think people understand that, do they? The fact that you spend all season. If it's not Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, it's even when you've got your days off, like you said before, scouting, having a look at the opposition. It's never easy, but it's the same whether you're at the top or the bottom of the division. The workload is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's it. It's like you say, it's wherever you are in the league or whatever league you're in, and I think once get that meeting out of the way next week, obviously working in the background, but just try and have a bit of downtime because it has been relentless the last few months, especially. Plenty to look forward to over the summer. With the lads, without the lads, and
talking about the lads, you've got your big trip to, is it Benidorm?
Benidorm, yeah.
Benidorm. When's that?
9th of May to the 11th. 2 nights in Benidorm, yeah. So
what days does that fall on?
So Friday and back Sunday night. Yeah, so looking forward to that.
That must be an expensive operation in itself. Getting how many are going altogether?
15. So 15 altogether. Be fair, the lads have chipped in themselves, and they have a fine pot throughout the year.
Yeah.
Which they've done £1,800 in this year.
Right.
In fines, so that's gone towards it as well.
A very poorly disciplined team if it's 18.
Obviously, I think you can get fine for anything these days. You go in and it's just a fine for going in the room.
Yeah, if your socks are half last, you get a fine.
So they got that, and then every player and staff, 24, we're all going to York races as well at the end of May. So yeah, important to enjoy it, I think, because like you say, these seasons, they don't come round too often, so it's important to enjoy the summer. I do believe that.
And how do you switch off during the season? Is there any moment when you do get time to relax? Does your mind, what you do, is there anything creative that you do that sort of takes your mind off things, or do you work? Because we know you're a groundsman.
Yeah, work, bit of walking, but I'm bad. My mind's always on it. I can't switch off. I wish I could, but I can't, and that's not. Yeah, that's not a good thing as well. That you wish you could, but I just can't. And that's something that I think I've got to get better at. Even when you finish something, you beat Nelson or you beat Dresden, you're always thinking about tomorrow and what's next. And I think it's important to learn how to enjoy the moment better, and that's something I want to improve on myself. So
you're really hoping that the older that you get, the more mature that you get, if that's the right word, that the pressure's going to get easier. Yeah. Tommy's 74 years of age now, and
he might disagree.
He might disagree. Yeah. I mean, we sat down and had a chat yesterday, and what we do feel is it's really unfortunate because everything behind the scenes is all good. In terms of the friendliness between the directors and the committee, the management staff, everything's good in that respect. It's just the results, and it's really, really difficult to. It's really difficult to turn around and say you've enjoyed the season, apart from the results. But that's where we've sort of come from. But then you get to that stage in the season, don't you? Where and I don't know whether it happened to you, but Tommy and I were discussing it maybe about three weeks ago, where there's that sort of end of season lull. Did there ever come a part in that season where you felt there was a lull?
Yeah, so I think it was around mid-March time.
Yeah,
we sort of felt that. And you still feel that even if
was the postponements then as well at the same time, was there?
No, not really. It just felt relentless, and it's like you wait for it to end, but we used that to change quite a few things up. So the way we've done training, the way we've done pre-match meetings, reports we sent out to the lads just to switch it up a bit. to just get people thinking differently again. You know, like fresh ideas, fresh mind thinking. I often say a thing to the staff is like, if we come in here now and we were coming to manage Atherton LR now, forget what we've done. You know, we've taken over from a different manager. What would we do differently? Because sometimes I feel you just get comfortable and in a routine, and we just wanted to flick it up. Just get the players and staff thinking differently again. So we done that, you know, mid-March. Like I say, it wasn't massive changes. It was team talk was 5 minutes later on a match day. So that the end of the team talk for them coming out to the warm-up was closer together. So a bit more focused. Changed the warm-up slightly, changed training slightly. Pre-match information, we took that away a little bit because we probably overloaded them, and just finding different ways to try and make them work. And after that, we won the last 6 games, and not saying it was because of that, but sometimes you just have to, you know, change a few things up to just get people thinking again. Otherwise, sometimes people just become a little bit, you know, lazy in the mind.
You almost feel like you're sort of walking zombie at that stage, don't you? The pressure's on. And it doesn't matter which level you're at, that you feel the tiredness, but you feel like you're a walking zombie. I walked, the number of times I've walked into the club recently or to an away ground, and I've just felt like I'm going through the motions, and I'm like, I don't think I need to be. I feel as though it's like an out of body experience. It's like somebody's taking me there. And I'm just having all that horrible feeling of we're going through the same thing again and again.
I think it's difficult as well because you feel like, as players, staff, you know, chairman, you feel like you've got to be there as well, and you don't want it to get to that point.
You know when you sat down with it, and you'd have sat down, I would imagine, numerous times with Sean. Did Sean feel the same thing? Did he feel as though there was a lull? Have you sat down, have you had them conversations where you thought, oh, come on?
No, not really. Sean's quite positive. He's like one of them. He's, you know, just keep going, it'll be all right sort of thing. But yeah, so that's just where we got to as a group. I just remember going into them at training mid-March. It's like, lads, like, we're literally sleepwalking into the playoffs, so we need to change this, change that, change this. You know, just get everyone thinking again. Because like you say, you're just in that lull and you just end up going like that, and you end up in the playoffs in mediocre form. It's really difficult to pick yourself up again and find that form that you had, you know, the majority of the season. So you can change all those little things, like you say, in training. Do you do anything different? A little bit of team bonding? Do you go out go-kart, or do you do... So after we lost to Nelson at home, we went out for a meal. Yeah. So again, the club were really supportive with that, because the club pays for us all to go out for an Italian together, which, you know, makes a big difference. That.
I don't think people realise it's really instrumental in keeping things going, isn't it? You know, in terms of camaraderie, you know, going for something as simple as a meal. It's expensive as a meal. I mean, was that just the meal or the booze as well?
No, it was only one drink each.
One drink each. Well, I'd say what very generous chairman that is.
One drink each, and the meal, and like you say, they spend a lot of time together. They are just a group of mates. They are really close mates. You know, you can see that by the stuff they got planned over the summer. They're a really close group, which, you know, helps through the season.
And what would you say you've learnt about yourself overall over the course of the season? Anything that you've recognised that you didn't the season before? Anything that helped you get over the line this season? Be calmer on the touchline. I always assume that you're always calm on the touchline. Is that not always the case then? No?
I think it was a bit worse last year. Plus it reflects on, you know, rubs off on the players, and so that was something.
So where does your anger get aimed? Does it get aimed at the players or the officials, or a mixture? Normally the linesmen to the right of me at home, but not the players as much, because I think if you go in at them too much, it loses its value when you actually do need to go in on them. Try and be, you know, obviously respectful to the officials all the time. It's you know, it's what we try and do as a club and team, and, you know, discipline table this year we're at the right end of it. Last year we're at the wrong end of it, and we spoke in the summer about having more control with referees would lead to having better control in performances, and having better control in performances will lead to having better results. So, you know, that's helped. As difficult as it is at times, as we can all acknowledge on a Saturday afternoon, with some of the stuff you see in front of you, you've just got to
just find a way to get through it, really.
I'm always a big believer in treating the officials with respect. Not that they always earn it, and I've had long conversations with Tommy, who doesn't even talk to them now, doesn't even shake their hands, I don't think. But I think I always believe that. I remember Russ Perkins. I don't know if you ever remember the name, Russ Perkins, but he used to manage Skem. Many moons ago, 1990s, I think it was, and he was an absolute gentleman. And I always got told by one referee in particular that if there was a 50-50 decision to be made, and you've got a Mourinho on one side, and you've got, I'm trying to think of a Karma, an Ancelotti maybe on the other side, then Ancelotti's always going to get them 50-50 decisions. So, in terms of showing them respect even when they don't particularly earn it, I want to say don't particularly earn it. I'm being a bit harsh on them really, because decisions have to be made, and you've not got the backup of VAR. You've not even got the backup of headphones speaking to your assistants. So you've not got any security in that at all. So big believer that I don't think officials go out of the way to be a pain in the backside, but occasionally you feel as though you're hard done by. So you've not lost your temper at all during the season, and in the end you've managed to control it.
A few times still, but I just think it'd be better than last year. Something I wanted to be better at. Like I say, probably rubs off on the players a little bit better as well, and just makes the environment as a whole a little bit better.
But listen, you're 25 years of age. When are you 26?
September.
Remarkably young career. It must have been fantastic getting over the line. That's brilliant. All I can do is wish you the best of luck in the Premier Division. I think you'll do yourselves justice. I think you'll find a way of creating and generating the experience that you need to continue your remarkable sort of upward trajectory in football management. I think it's nothing short of amazing. So best of luck next season.
Cheers.
And listen, thanks for coming on the show.
Cheers, thank you, Frank. Cheers, mate.
You're welcome. Special shout out to all the businesses that support Skelmersdale United Football Club, Origin Sign Company, T&W Garners, 7PDS, Skem Express Cars 5005, Lease Car UK, RNB Auto Centre, SB Skills Solutions, and Hey Presto Web Design. Thank you to everyone who donates to the club, supports our race nights, raffles, and the lottery bonus ball scheme, and of course the last man standing. A special thanks to those who organise these fundraising events, especially the incredible Lee Davis and Lucas Bergquist. To all who stand by us both on and off the field, we are truly grateful. If you wish to sponsor the show, please contact me at chairman.skemutdfc@gmail.com or call me on 07766 054 548. All proceeds will go to Skelmersdale United Football Club. Thank you for your unwavering support.